What happens when a snowstorm traps two strangers in a cozy lodge? In whispers of winter love, secrets are revealed, hearts are mended, and a love story unfolds that will change their lives forever. Join Elena and Andreas as they navigate the magic of winter, where every whisper carries the promise of hope and second chances. Will they embrace the warmth of newfound love, or will their pasts hold them back? Tune in to discover how love can bloom amidst the chill of winter and rewrite their destinies. Chapter 1. An unexpected detour. The wind seemed to carry whispers of change as Sophia's plane touched down in Athens, a planned layover on her way to the snowy landscapes of Switzerland. Greece had never been a destination she considered for a winter holiday, but here she was, with nothing but her suitcase, a book, and a heart that had grown accustomed to solitude. A faint snowfall had begun to blanket the airport in a layer of delicate white, an unusual sight for a country more often bathed in the golden glow of the sun than cloaked in the silence of winter's touch. What she hadn't anticipated was that her flight out of Greece would be abruptly canceled due to worsening weather, turning her brief layover into an indefinite stay. Snow continued to drift softly from the sky, blanketing the landscape in an unfamiliar white hush, rendering Athens almost unrecognizable. Amid the chatter of stranded travelers and the rush of families huddling for warmth, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of stillness, as if the snow itself were urging her to pause and listen. The situation seemed to tug her in an unexpected direction, tempting her to stray from the path she had always meticulously planned. With a hastily booked room at a small, family-owned inn on the outskirts of the city, Sophia found herself navigating winding roads, now cloaked in snow. Unlike the structured streets of her London hometown, these Greek roads twisted and turned with the contours of the land, feeling as timeless as the stone walls that lined them. As she journeyed through the rural outskirts, the city's lights faded into the distance, and the rolling countryside began to unfold before her. Trees stood bare against the landscape, their branches weighed down by the unexpected snowfall, giving the entire scene a surreal beauty that felt both haunting and serene. When she finally arrived, the inn appeared almost as a vision, a centuries-old stone building nestled within the embrace of towering olive trees and surrounded by fields covered in a blanket of undisturbed snow. The innkeeper, an older woman with warm eyes and a gentle smile, handed her the keys and directed her to her room upstairs. Sophia noted how time had gently etched itself into the walls of the place, each stone seemingly telling a story of the travelers who had sought refuge within. A faint scent of spices and pine filled the air, mingling with the aroma of wood burning in the nearby fireplace. And for the first time in months, Sophia felt a sliver of peace wash over her. As she settled into her room, she pulled open the thick curtains, revealing a view of the snow-covered hills stretching out toward the horizon. Night was falling fast, and the sky had turned a deep shade of blue, almost blending into the earth below. Her mind, usually preoccupied with deadlines, to-do lists, and a myriad of concerns, began to relax, loosening its grip on thoughts of her once perfect, now lost relationship and the unrelenting pace of city life. Here, there was only silence, the comforting weight of thick blankets, and the soft glow of the fireplace illuminating the room. In the quietness of the night, Sophia felt an odd sense of belonging, something she hadn't felt in a long time. She had traveled to Switzerland to escape, to wrap herself in snowy landscapes and forget her past. But now, it seemed the world had conspired to bring her to a place she hadn't anticipated, a country she'd never thought to visit in winter. And as she lay in bed, listening to the muffled sound of the wind outside, she couldn't shake the feeling that she was exactly where she needed to be. The night unfolded slowly, like a story told in whispers, and with each passing hour, Sophia felt a little closer to understanding why she had been drawn here. The snow outside her window continued to fall, a gentle reminder that sometimes, in the quiet moments and unexpected detours, life offers a chance to start anew, wrapped in the silent beauty of the unknown. Chapter 2. The First Snowfall. Morning arrived slowly, bringing with it a soft, pearly light that seeped through the curtains of Sophia's room. She lay beneath thick blankets, relishing the unfamiliar warmth of the inn's embrace and the faint scent of pine and rosemary drifting in from the hallway. Outside, the world was blanketed in untouched snow, a dazzling sight that transformed the Greek countryside into a winter wonderland. Sophia, who had expected only a brief stop in Athens, was suddenly captivated by the quiet beauty that had settled upon the landscape. Stepping outside, Sophia felt the crisp air bite her cheeks as she pulled her coat tightly around her. A layer of fresh snow crunched softly beneath her boots as she ventured toward the edge of the property, where the inn's olive trees lined a narrow path leading down a hill. The trees, with their branches heavy and bending under the weight of fresh snow, appeared almost like sentinels guarding secrets only winter could reveal. Sophia marveled at the contrast. The soft green of the olive leaves peeking through patches of white, and the dark trunks standing starkly against the pristine ground. As she walked further, Sophia noticed the landscape stretched out before her like a painting, each layer of white wrapping the world in quietude. The distant mountains appeared in shades of smoky gray, softened by a veil of mist that clung to their peaks. She found herself transfixed by the way the sunlight danced across the snowy hillsides, creating 1,000 tiny reflections that sparkled as though the land itself were alive. It was a landscape filled with a timeless magic that seemed to reach out and embrace her, offering a respite she hadn't realized she needed. The quietude around her was profound, amplified by the thick layer of snow that seemed to absorb all sound. The only noise came from the occasional rustle of branches or the faint crunch beneath her boots. For the first time in as long as she could remember, Sophia felt a peace that was more than momentary, a deep and consuming calm that seemed to settle within her as surely as the snow had upon the earth. It was as though each step she took erased a small part of the noise and chaos she had carried with her for so long. She spent the morning exploring, tracing the contours of the land and observing the subtle beauty in each snowfall-softened detail. In the distance, she caught sight of a small village nestled at the foot of a hill, its stone buildings huddled together as though seeking warmth from each other. Smoke curled lazily from the chimneys, rising in gentle spirals before being carried away by the breeze. The sight stirred something within Sophia, a sense of connection to a simpler way of life that felt both foreign and comforting. Returning to the inn, Sophia was greeted by the innkeeper, who had placed a tray of freshly baked pastries and a steaming mug of thick, spiced tea on a small table by the fireplace. The inn's warmth wrapped around her like a familiar blanket as she settled in, savoring each sip and every bite. The spiced flavors of cinnamon and clove lingered on her tongue, grounding her in the moment and filling her with an unexpected sense of contentment. It was as if each mouthful, each sensation, was part of a silent language spoken by the place itself, a language she was slowly beginning to understand. As the day wore on, the light shifted, casting a golden hue over the snowy landscape outside her window. Sophia watched as the shadows lengthened, creating patterns across the snow that seemed to shift and change like the scenes of a play. The silence continued to envelop her, a cocoon that invited her to look inward, to contemplate the events that had led her here. She thought of her life back in London, the crowded streets, the endless noise and rush. Here, in the stillness of the Greek countryside, she felt as though time had slowed, as if the snowfall had suspended the very hours, offering her a precious gift, the gift of presence. In the early evening, Sophia took one last walk around the inn, observing how the landscape transformed under the moonlight. The snow took on a silvery glow, shimmering as though dusted with stardust, while the shadows grew deeper and more defined. Standing amidst this quiet beauty, Sophia felt a sense of awe wash over her. She realized that the isolation, the snow, the unfamiliar surroundings, all of it was drawing her closer to herself, peeling back the layers of her life until only the essence remained. It was a feeling she hadn't anticipated, yet she welcomed it, allowing herself to be held by the peace and simplicity of this place. By the time she returned to her room, she felt lighter, unburdened in a way that was as unexpected as it was welcome. She crawled beneath the blankets, letting the warmth envelope her as she drifted off to sleep, her heart quietly whispering its gratitude. And as she lay there, the snowfall continued, a silent testament to the beauty of stillness, a reminder that sometimes the most profound journeys begin not with a step forward, but with a pause. Chapter 3. A Stranger's Welcome. The morning greeted Sophia with a soft, pale light, casting a pearly glow over the snow-covered fields that stretched beyond the inn's small courtyard. The thick snow, untouched since the night before, had turned the landscape into a sea of white, hiding all familiar markers and leaving only the contours of hills and distant trees to break the vastness. Sophia rose, wrapped in the soft quilt from her bed, and went to the window. She felt like a visitor in a land untouched by time, as though the snowfall had erased the world's chaos, leaving only serenity in its wake. Breakfast was laid out in the small dining room downstairs, which was infused with the rich aromas of baked bread, fresh herbs, and honeyed tea. Sophia felt a warm welcome here, not from words, but from the quiet gestures that surrounded her. A freshly laid fire, a tray of homemade pastries, and a gentle nod from the innkeeper, who moved silently, making sure all her guests were well cared for. As she sipped her tea, Sophia found herself savoring not just the food, but the space itself, which felt inviting yet reverent, as though each visitor were invited to bring their own stories to this timeless setting. After breakfast, she decided to explore the village she had seen from the hillside the day before. The innkeeper handed her a thick woolen scarf, nodding in encouragement, and pointed in the direction of the narrow path that wound its way down the hill. The walk was slow and peaceful, her every step sinking softly into the snow. As she neared the village, she began to notice the little details that gave the place its character. The way the old stone walls peeked through the snow, the wooden window shutters painted in faded shades of blue and green, and the scent of wood smoke mingling with the crispness of the air. The village itself was quiet, its streets seemingly deserted, save for a few bundled-up figures hurrying about their morning errands. Sophia could hear the crunch of their footsteps in the snow and see the gentle trails of smoke rising from the chimneys, mingling with the thin morning mist. She felt like an outsider peering into a world steeped in its own rhythm, a world that had existed long before she arrived and would continue long after she left. Yet somehow, she felt welcomed, as if the village itself had a soul that was offering her a place to belong, if only temporarily. She wandered through the cobbled streets, drawn to the simple, rustic beauty of the houses and shops, each one telling a story in its own quiet way. Here, a wooden sled leaned against a wall, dusted with fresh snow. There, an old metal lantern hung from a doorway, flickering softly, its light barely visible in the daytime. Sophia found herself imagining the lives of those who lived here, their routines, their memories, their loves and losses all contained within the walls of these ancient buildings. She felt as if she were walking through a story, her presence merely a footnote in the village's long, unwritten history. A small church stood at the center of the village, its stone walls weathered and worn, but the bell tower standing tall against the sky. She climbed the stone steps leading up to the entrance and gently pushed the door open. Inside, the air was still and cool, filled with the faint scent of beeswax and incense. The light filtered in through narrow stained glass windows, casting a kaleidoscope of colors across the stone floor. She moved quietly, as if not to disturb the sanctity of the place, and took a seat in one of the wooden pews. In the silence of the church, Sophia felt a wave of reflection wash over her. She thought of the many ways she had tried to fill her life back in London. Busy schedules, social events, an endless stream of tasks. Here, in this place where time seemed to stand still, she felt none of the pressures that had once seemed so vital. Instead, she found herself considering what truly mattered, the things she had overlooked in her search for meaning. She allowed herself to be present in this moment, to let go of the past and the future, and simply exist within the quiet of this village, this winter, this chapter of her life. After some time, she left the church and continued exploring, her heart feeling lighter with each step. The village, now bathed in the soft light of midday, felt more familiar, less like a place she had stumbled upon and more like a sanctuary that had always existed within her, waiting to be uncovered. As she walked back up the path toward the inn, she felt the faintest stirring of gratitude. A gratitude not just for the beauty she was witnessing, but for the chance to slow down, to feel deeply, and to reconnect with a part of herself she hadn't realized was missing. Returning to her room at the inn, she gazed out the window once more, taking in the sight of the village nestled peacefully below. Snow began to fall again, gently and quietly, as if wrapping the world in a protective blanket. She watched the flakes dance through the air, a reminder of the beauty that came with surrendering to the unknown. For perhaps the first time in years, Sophia felt a sense of true contentment, a contentment that came not from achievement or approval, but from the simple act of being, of allowing herself to be embraced by the world around her. Chapter 4. A Timeless Landscape. Sophia awoke to a world softened by the thick snowfall that had blanketed the land overnight. The winter sun filtered in through her window, casting a pale light across her room and turning the world outside into a sea of silver and white. She stretched beneath the warm quilt, breathing in the fresh morning air that held a hint of the sea and faint undertones of pine. The day lay ahead of her, inviting her to explore, to discover more of this quiet world where time seemed to move at its own pace, unhurried and unburdened by the demands of the life she'd left behind. Wrapped in layers of wool and warmth, she ventured outside, taking her usual path down the hill and into the heart of the village. The snowfall had erased any remnants of footsteps or marks from the day before, creating a pristine, untouched landscape that made each step feel as if she were the first to tread there. Her boots sank slightly with each step, leaving small impressions in the fresh snow. She felt a comforting solitude, as if the entire world had paused, holding its breath in a peaceful reverence. The village was quiet, its usual murmurs softened to a faint hum by the snow that lay heavy upon rooftops and tree branches. Even the olive trees, which lined the winding road to the village, bore the weight of the snowfall, their twisted trunks and silvery leaves dusted with delicate white. Sophia marveled at the beauty of it all, the way each branch held its burden with a grace that seemed almost purposeful, each tree a sculpture of nature's quiet resilience. As she wandered deeper into the village, she noticed small, thoughtful details that might have otherwise gone unnoticed. A basket of winter apples left by someone's door, a wreath woven with sprigs of rosemary and holly, and tiny windows illuminated by candlelight, casting a warm glow against the icy blue of the morning. The village was alive in its own quiet way, speaking through the gentle gestures of its people, each one contributing to the quiet, humble beauty of this place. Following a narrow path that curved around the back of the village, Sophia reached a small hill that overlooked the sea. The water stretched out in shades of blue and gray, its surface calm and steady beneath the pale winter sky. The distant islands lay like shadows against the horizon, shrouded in mist that rose from the sea and blended seamlessly into the clouds. She stood there, breathing in the salty air, feeling the wind tug at her scarf and hair as she let her gaze drift across the landscape. Here, at the edge of the land, she felt a profound sense of openness, as if the world stretched endlessly before her, filled with possibility and grace. Time passed unmarked as she remained on that hillside, absorbing the stillness that settled over the water and sky. She could feel the landscape beginning to work its way into her heart, embedding itself in memories that would stay with her long after the snow melted and the sea lost its winter chill. She felt as if she were becoming part of the scenery, her presence merging with the wind, the snow, the distant cry of seabirds that circled above. It was a moment that felt timeless, a fragment of eternity wrapped in the simple beauty of winter. When she finally turned to head back to the inn, the sun had begun its slow descent, casting a golden glow across the snow. She followed her own footprints, which had been softened by the sun's warmth, as she made her way back through the quiet village. Passing by the small market square, she noticed a few villagers gathered by the fountain, their voices low and mingling with the crisp air. She paused for a moment, observing them from a distance, feeling a pang of appreciation for the lives that unfolded here, the routines and relationships that gave this place its unique heartbeat. Upon reaching the inn, Sophia felt a renewed sense of gratitude, not only for the beauty she'd encountered but for the calm that had settled within her. She lingered outside, taking in the last of the golden light as it touched the snow-dusted eaves of the inn, casting long shadows that stretched across the courtyard. The beauty of the landscape, its quiet resilience and enduring grace, had left a lasting impression on her, awakening something within her that she had long forgotten, a sense of wonder, of reverence for the simple, unadorned moments that made life meaningful. Returning to her room, Sophia curled up by the window, watching as dusk settled over the village. The first stars began to appear, faint against the deepening sky, their light mirrored by the small candles that flickered in the windows of the houses below. She felt the peacefulness of the night embrace her, a soothing presence that eased her mind and allowed her heart to rest. This place, with its timeless landscapes and quiet rhythms, was teaching her the art of stillness, the beauty of slowing down, of letting go of all the things she once thought were essential. And as she drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with visions of snow-covered hills, distant islands shrouded in mist, and the endless stretch of sea that lay beyond the village, a world both vast and intimate, inviting her to lose herself within it, to find a piece of herself she hadn't realized was lost. Chapter 5. Reflections in the Winter Light. The morning light in Greece during winter had a special clarity to it, almost as if it were revealing a hidden layer of beauty that lay just beneath the surface. Sophia awoke to this soft light, casting gentle shadows across her room, a world tinged with silvery hues that made everything appear calm and untouched. She lingered in bed, letting the quietness of the morning settle around her, savoring the peaceful rhythm of her breathing in sync with the pulse of this ancient place. There was no rush, no impending task pulling her away. It was a luxury she had forgotten she could enjoy, simply being, without demands or expectations. Outside, the village was still. The heavy snowfall from the previous day lay untouched, blanketing the landscape in serene whiteness. After dressing warmly, Sophia ventured into the crisp morning, breathing in the air that tasted faintly of pine and salt from the nearby sea. She felt herself in perfect harmony with the silence that filled the village, a silence not of emptiness but of fullness, of stories untold and lives long lived. This place seemed to hold a reverence for time, moving with it rather than against it, honoring each moment without trying to capture or hold it. Sophia's footsteps echoed softly as she walked along the cobbled road leading toward the edge of the village. She passed small houses, each unique in its own way. Their stone walls adorned with wreaths of rosemary and holly, lending a subtle vibrance to the otherwise muted tones of winter. Snow clung to the edges of rooftops, melting slowly as the sun crept higher into the sky, creating delicate icicles that glistened like jewels. Every element, from the trees to the stones beneath her feet, seemed infused with a quiet grace, as if nature itself had taken on a meditative state, mirroring her own newfound peace. Her path led her toward a small, abandoned chapel at the village's edge, its stone walls partially hidden beneath creeping ivy and snow. The chapel was a humble structure, its simple beauty standing in contrast to the grandeur of the vast landscape that surrounded it. Curious, Sophia pushed open the door, which creaked softly, as though hesitant to disturb the silence within. Inside, the air was cool and heavy with the scent of aged wood and dust. Sunlight filtered through a small, cracked window, casting a golden glow onto the worn wooden pews, illuminating fragments of dust that drifted lazily in the air. Sophia sat in one of the pews, her hands resting in her lap, and allowed herself to absorb the quietness of the space. The chapel seemed untouched by time, preserved as it had always been, holding the echoes of countless prayers and whispered hopes within its walls. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to sink into her thoughts, reflecting on the journey that had brought her here, to this remote Greek village in the heart of winter. The struggle she had faced in her life back home seemed distant now, softened by the tranquility of this place. Here, she felt no need to analyze or explain. She could simply be, as if she were a part of the landscape itself. The moments drifted by, unmeasured, until Sophia felt the gentle warmth of sunlight touch her face, urging her to rise and continue her day. She left the chapel with a sense of gratitude, a feeling that the quiet space had offered her something she couldn't quite name but felt deeply in her heart. Walking back toward the village, she let her mind wander to thoughts of her future, considering the changes she wanted to embrace when she returned home. Perhaps she could carry a piece of this peacefulness with her, a reminder to slow down and live with intention. As she neared the inn, she felt a sudden urge to explore the hillside that rose behind it, drawn by a sense of curiosity and adventure. The hill was steep, and the snow deepened as she ascended, but she welcomed the effort, the sensation of her body moving and working in harmony with the land. The higher she climbed, the more of the surrounding countryside she could see. The rolling hills covered in snow, the olive groves stretching out toward the horizon, and the distant glint of the sea, catching the midday sun like scattered diamonds. When she reached the top, Sophia stopped to catch her breath, her cheeks flushed from the cold and the climb. The view took her breath away, a vast panorama of untouched land, the village nestled below like a small, forgotten world preserved in time. From this height, she could see the outlines of other villages in the distance, their stone buildings huddled together, and the faint smudge of smoke rising from chimneys, blending with the winter sky. She felt like she was standing on the edge of the world, witnessing a beauty so profound that it left her speechless. In that moment, she felt a sense of belonging she hadn't expected, though she was far from home. In a place where she knew no one and spoke little of the language, she felt a kinship with the land, as though the earth itself was inviting her to stay, to find solace and strength in its timeless presence. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to be enveloped by the silence, to feel the pulse of the world around her. A world that had seen countless winters, countless lives, and yet continued on, unchanging and unwavering. Eventually, the sun began to dip lower, casting long shadows across the snow, and Sophia began her descent. She took her time, savoring each step, feeling the cool air fill her lungs, the crunch of snow beneath her boots grounding her to this place. By the time she returned to the inn, dusk had settled, bringing a quiet calm over the village as the first stars appeared in the evening sky. She made her way to her room, pausing to look out the window once more, watching as the village lights twinkled like stars, reflecting the beauty of the night above. That evening, as she settled into bed, she felt a profound sense of peace and connection, a feeling that she was exactly where she needed to be, even if she didn't fully understand why. The landscape of Greece, with its rugged beauty and quiet resilience, had left an indelible mark on her heart, teaching her lessons she hadn't expected but welcomed wholeheartedly. Chapter 6. The Heart of Winter. The following morning arrived quietly, with only the soft sigh of the wind stirring through the trees. Sophia rose early, drawn to the promise of another day spent within the enchantment of the Greek countryside. Outside, the snow had transformed into a light, crystalline dusting under the dawn's first light, shimmering as though the earth itself were sighing awake after a deep sleep. She took a moment to appreciate the silent, breathtaking scene that stretched out before her. The narrow village streets, the snow-laden olive groves, the distant hills veiled in winter mist. Each view felt like a gift, and she absorbed it all with a sense of reverence, feeling as though she were living within a moving painting. Sophia's curiosity guided her through the village's winding paths and side streets, leading her further away from familiar spots toward the older part of the village that seemed untouched by time. Here, the cobblestones were worn smooth, and the walls of the houses leaned inward as if to share their stories in secret whispers. She walked slowly, observing the details etched into the village's bones: the weathered paint of a window shutter, the chipped corner of a stone step, the faint scent of rosemary that grew in clumps by the roadside. Each element seemed infused with the lives of those who had passed before her, adding a sense of continuity and belonging to the otherwise solitary path. She wandered along until she reached a small clearing, where a set of ancient steps led to a hidden pathway. Curiosity overtook her, and she began to ascend, her footsteps echoing in rhythm with her heartbeat. The path twisted around a bend, revealing a small cemetery tucked away within the hillside, almost forgotten but holding its own quiet dignity. The simple gravestones, some worn to near illegibility, stood in rows, marking the resting places of generations who had lived and loved here. Snow blanketed each grave, lending a softness that seemed to transcend the finality of death, and Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of peace as she took in the sight. As she walked among the gravestones, Sophia felt an unexpected connection to those who lay beneath the earth. Though she didn't know their stories, she imagined their lives, picturing families who had once gathered, lovers who had whispered beneath the same sky she now walked under, children who had once played in the fields nearby. There was something profoundly comforting in realizing that life continued, leaving traces in places like this, in the quiet memory of a winter's day. It was as though the village itself was a living memory, preserving the essence of every life within its quiet walls and snow-laden paths. Lost in thought, Sophia noticed a small bench beside an ancient olive tree at the edge of the cemetery, its branches twisted and gnarled with age. She sat down, feeling the tree's silent strength radiate around her. She ran her fingers over the carved initials on the bench, barely visible under the wear of years, wondering if it had been a couple, perhaps meeting in secret, or friends marking a cherished spot. There was a palpable sense of memory in the air, as if the tree, too, held stories within its roots. The feeling was hauntingly beautiful, as if the past had chosen this place to remain undisturbed for those who might seek it. The morning drifted by, a gentle lull in the flow of time. Sophia closed her eyes and let the cold seep into her skin, anchoring her to this quiet moment. Her thoughts wandered to her own past, to memories she had long buried, thinking of the people she had lost, the dreams she had let go. Yet here, in this sacred silence, those memories felt lighter, as if the land was teaching her how to hold them with grace rather than sorrow. She thought of how life ebbed and flowed, like the seasons that passed, and she understood, perhaps for the first time, the beauty in letting things go to make space for what could yet come. Sophia rose from the bench and continued her walk, leaving the cemetery with a heart both heavier and lighter than before. She followed the path back to the village, watching as the morning deepened into a clear, crisp day. The air was brisk, and the faint aroma of roasting chestnuts wafted from a nearby home, mingling with the scent of pine and the salt of the sea. Every element of the village felt intertwined with the natural world around it, creating a sense of unity and peace that touched Sophia deeply. Returning to the inn, she paused by a window overlooking the village square. Here, she could see locals beginning their daily routines, as familiar and timeless as the turning of the earth. Old men in thick coats and wool caps gathered to chat by the square's edge, their laughter echoing faintly across the empty streets. Nearby, an elderly woman swept the steps of her house, her movements slow but steady, as though she had performed this ritual countless times before. Sophia watched these simple acts, each imbued with a sense of belonging that she had rarely felt in her own life. The villagers lived with a rootedness that was foreign to her, but alluring in its constancy. A sense of calm spread over her as she watched, understanding that while she was only a visitor here, the village had already given her something invaluable, a reminder of what it meant to feel connected, to belong. She thought of the cemetery, of the invisible threads that bound her to the past, and felt a profound sense of gratitude. Life's beauty, she realized, lay not only in grand events or ambitions, but in these small, everyday moments, and in the quiet ties between the living and those who had come before. That evening, Sophia sat in her room, journaling her thoughts as snow began to fall again outside. The fire in her room crackled softly, casting a warm glow that softened the evening's chill. Her pen moved slowly across the page, capturing fragments of her experiences, of the places and people who had shaped her journey thus far. She wrote about the village, its gentle rhythm, the weight of its history, and how, in only a few days, it had managed to reach a part of her that she had long forgotten. As she put her journal aside and prepared for bed, Sophia felt a deep sense of peace, a quiet certainty that she was exactly where she needed to be. The snowfall thickened, casting the village in a serene blanket of white, as if the earth itself were settling in for a long, restful night. Sophia lay in bed, feeling the stillness of the village seep into her soul, her heart swelling with gratitude. She drifted off to sleep with a quiet promise to herself to carry this sense of belonging with her wherever she went, a gift of peace from this place she had come to love. Chapter 7. Echoes of Past Loves. The days in the village flowed like a gentle stream, each moment an invitation for Sophia to sink deeper into the rhythms of this tranquil place. As December pressed on, the village's preparation for the upcoming holiday season filled every street, corner, and home with a quiet but persistent energy. The villagers gathered in small groups to string pine branches and holly along the doors and windows, while little children roamed about, clutching bundles of red and green ribbon, their laughter adding a lively melody to the air. A spirit of giving had overtaken the village, wrapping it like a protective embrace, with the feeling spreading through Sophia's heart as she joined in. One morning, Sophia decided to explore the village market square, now transformed into a small Christmas market that appeared to have sprung to life overnight. Brightly colored booths lined the square, each one brimming with handcrafted goods. Here were baskets overflowing with fragrant herbs and spices, their scents mingling in a heady aroma that drifted across the market. Intricately carved olive wood figurines sat alongside woolen scarves, while candles, infused with the essence of pine and cinnamon, glowed softly in the morning light. The village seemed to hold a tangible warmth, a sense of quiet joy reflected in the face of each vendor, each visitor. Sophia took her time wandering from stall to stall, feeling the textures, inhaling the scents, and absorbing the delicate craftsmanship of each item. She marveled at how even the simplest objects, wooden spoons, clay pots, sprigs of rosemary, held a beauty born from the hands of those who shaped them. Her fingers traced the grooves of a small olive wood ornament, its lines smooth yet imperfect, as if bearing the story of the very tree it had been carved from. She could feel the connection of the artisans to their land, to a way of life rooted in patience and love. As she continued through the market, Sophia came upon a booth run by a kindly old woman named Elena, her face creased with the wrinkles of 1,000 smiles. Elena's stall was filled with handmade lace and delicate fabrics, each one embroidered with symbols of the village's history. She sold tablecloths adorned with olive branches, handkerchiefs edged with patterns of the sea, and scarves woven in shades of green and blue, reminiscent of the landscape. Sophia admired the intricate handiwork, her fingers grazing over a soft woolen scarf, and she felt drawn to its warmth and texture, as if the very fibers were woven with the stories of the past. Eleni noticed her interest and gifted her a small, embroidered pouch with an olive branch stitched into it, a gesture so simple yet filled with profound generosity. Sophia accepted it with a deep sense of gratitude, understanding that it was not merely an object but a reminder of the kindness that ran through the veins of this village. The villagers' generosity was quiet, unassuming, yet it permeated every interaction. They offered her these gifts with open hands, expecting nothing in return, embodying the true spirit of giving in a way Sophia had rarely encountered before. With her new pouch tucked safely in her coat pocket, Sophia strolled further down the market square, stopping near a booth where a few village children had gathered. They huddled close to one another, their cheeks flushed and noses pink from the cold, peering with excitement at small gifts they planned to exchange. Some held jars of preserves, others clutched bundles of dried lavender tied with twine, and a few of the younger children offered small painted rocks, each one decorated with their own crude but endearing artistry. The scene warmed her heart, as the children's laughter and joyful exchanges reminded her of simpler days, of the innocence and wonder often found in giving and receiving. The afternoon melted away as Sophia continued through the square, her senses filled with the sights, sounds, and scents of the holiday. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the snow-dusted village, she felt a quiet yearning, a desire to give back to the people who had welcomed her so wholeheartedly. She thought of the small ways they had touched her heart, the warmth they had offered freely, and felt a need to express her gratitude tangibly. But what could she, a stranger in their midst, give to capture the depth of her appreciation? Later that evening, as she sat by the fire in the inn, Sophia remembered a skill she hadn't practiced in years. Her grandmother had taught her the art of crafting wreaths, delicate circles of evergreen adorned with berries, dried fruits, and sprigs of rosemary. It was a tradition from her childhood, one she had left behind as she pursued life's busier paths. The thought of creating something by hand, of connecting with her memories, filled her with a sense of purpose and quiet joy. She decided she would make a wreath for each household in the village, a gesture of thanks for the warmth and kindness they had shown her. Over the next few days, Sophia gathered the materials she needed. She collected pine branches from the forest's edge, snipped fresh sprigs of rosemary from a neighbor's garden, and bought dried oranges and berries from the market. Her hands worked tirelessly, weaving each wreath with care, each twist of the branch a quiet message of gratitude. She worked late into the night, her fingers sometimes stiff with cold, but her heart felt full, as if with each wreath, she was weaving herself more deeply into the fabric of the village. On Christmas Eve, Sophia quietly made her way through the village, placing a wreath on each doorstep, careful not to disturb anyone. The snow fell softly, blanketing her footsteps, as if the village itself were aiding her in her secret endeavor. She felt a thrill, a sense of wonder, imagining each family waking to find a small gift waiting for them, a token of her love, her gratitude, and the belonging she had found here. As the final wreath was placed, Sophia took a moment to stand in the center of the square, the village now enveloped in a quiet stillness. Her gaze drifted over the houses, their warm lights glowing softly against the darkened sky. She felt a profound connection to this place, to its people, and to the timeless spirit of giving that bound them together. Chapter 8. Moonlit Conversations. The village awoke on Christmas morning to a quietness that seemed almost sacred. The sky, still cloaked in a gentle dawn, bore the soft hues of lavender and rose as the first hints of sunlight touched the snow-covered landscape. Sophia rose early, her heart already brimming with an unspoken joy. She wrapped herself in a thick woolen coat, tugged on her gloves, and slipped into the crisp morning air. The village lay serene and undisturbed, as if holding its breath, wrapped in a blanket of untouched snow that glistened under the first light of day. Each doorstep bore Sophia's wreaths, and the sight filled her with a quiet pride and happiness. The wreaths, simple yet meticulously crafted, seemed to belong here, a small part of the village's beauty on this peaceful morning. Her gesture had been small, but meaningful, a way to thank the people who had unknowingly mended her heart in this remote, snowy haven. As she strolled through the village square, Sophia took in the familiar sights, but now with a fresh appreciation, her gaze lingering on the pine trees decorated with berries and lanterns, the evergreen boughs that adorned doors, and the tiny pops of red and green ribbons that the villagers had added with care. It was as though each detail whispered a story, carrying the history and love of the community across generations. The village church, its ancient stone walls coated with frost, stood in the center of it all, radiating a timeless grace. A faint ringing of bells soon began, the melody flowing softly through the morning air and calling the villagers together. One by one, the villagers stepped from their homes, wrapped in their warmest coats, their faces bright with cheer. Children with woolen scarves wrapped around their chins hopped through the snow, leaving trails of footprints that crisscrossed the square. Couples walked arm in arm, some carrying small baskets of bread and pastries, others with bouquets of rosemary and lavender tucked under their arms. Sophia watched from afar, her heart swelling as she saw Eleni approach the church doors, a faint mist of breath escaping her as she walked, smiling as she caught sight of Sophia's wreath. Eleni's hands, though worn with age, carefully lifted the wreath from her door to examine it. She held it with the tenderness one might reserve for a cherished family heirloom. Sophia observed the scene quietly, feeling the warmth of Eleni's appreciation radiate back toward her even from a distance. As the villagers gathered, a sense of kinship filled the air. The church doors opened to welcome them inside, the scent of old wood and beeswax candles drifting into the square. Sophia lingered outside, taking in the moment, feeling the pull to go in but finding comfort in watching the scene unfold from the stillness of the village square. She knew this place was no longer just a temporary shelter from the storm. It had become a part of her heart, grounding her with a sense of belonging she hadn't realized she was seeking. She decided to walk the snowy path leading away from the square, enjoying the gentle quiet that still enveloped the edges of the village. Each footstep was cushioned by the soft layer of snow, and she found herself wandering to a familiar place she had visited often since arriving, the forest on the village's outskirts. Tall trees stretched toward the sky, their branches dusted with snow, casting long shadows that danced as she moved. It was here, among the trees, that she had often come to reflect, to clear her thoughts, and to find peace. The forest, with its age-old wisdom and natural silence, felt alive that morning, as if it too was partaking in the reverence of Christmas. The bare branches, layered with snow, created intricate patterns against the pale sky, like delicate lace draped over the treetops. As Sophia walked deeper into the forest, she felt herself becoming part of its rhythm, matching her breaths to the calm stillness that enveloped her. Reaching a small clearing, she paused, taking in the expansive view of the snow-covered valley that lay just beyond the trees. The sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow over the untouched snow, transforming it into a landscape that shimmered as if adorned with thousands of tiny diamonds. It was breathtaking in its simplicity, a sight she knew would remain with her long after she returned home. Standing there, wrapped in the solitude of winter's heart, she felt a profound sense of gratitude for all that she had discovered here. About the village, about kindness, and about herself. Her thoughts drifted to her life back home, to the fast pace she had once considered normal. She had come to this village to escape the rush, to find refuge from a life that often felt like a race without end. Yet in the simplicity of these days, in the quiet, shared moments with the villagers, she had found something deeper, an understanding that true joy was not found in constant motion but in connection, both with others and with the world around her. As she made her way back to the village, her heart felt light, each step bringing her closer to the warmth and laughter of the village celebrations. She imagined the families sharing meals, exchanging small gifts, and telling stories by the fireside. She pictured the children, faces alight with the joy that Christmas morning brings, huddling together, hands clasped around warm cups of cocoa. The image filled her with peace, a gentle certainty that love and warmth could be found even in the quietest, most unassuming corners of the world. By the time she returned to the square, the villagers had gathered outside the church, each one embracing the day's magic in their own way. Eleni caught sight of her and raised her hand in a warm greeting. A few villagers approached, offering her small gestures: a jar of honey, a bundle of dried lavender, a loaf of bread still warm from the oven. The gifts were humble, but given with such love that Sophia felt herself on the brink of tears. It was as if each villager was returning the gesture she had made with her wreaths, sealing her place within their community. As the Christmas bells continued to chime, Sophia felt a new layer of warmth wrap around her. A quiet understanding that she belonged here, at least for now. The snow continued to fall, delicate flakes dancing in the air, and she breathed in the sweetness of the moment, feeling at home among these people and their gentle traditions. In that simple Christmas morning, surrounded by people who had shown her the meaning of true kindness, Sophia felt her heart fully open, embracing the love that the village had to offer. Chapter 9. Unveiling the Mystery. As the afternoon sun crept higher in the sky, the village of Kalimnos transformed into a vibrant tapestry of laughter and celebration. The festive spirit was infectious, weaving its way through the streets as the villagers gathered to share in the warmth of Christmas. The aroma of roasted chestnuts mingled with the sweetness of honey-drenched pastries, wafting through the air like a siren's song, drawing everyone closer to the heart of the festivities. Sophia stepped outside her door, her heart fluttering with anticipation as she joined the throng of villagers moving toward the town square. The once quiet street now burst with life, each family contributing their own touch to the celebration. Tables laden with food overflowed, the bright colors of fresh fruits, rich stews, and pastries creating a feast for the senses. Laughter erupted from all corners as children ran about, their cheeks rosy from the cold and excitement, chasing each other in a game of tag that seemed to echo the joy of the season. Eleni had outdone herself this year, transforming the square into a winter wonderland. Twinkling fairy lights hung from every lamppost, illuminating the evening with a soft, enchanting glow. Pine branches adorned with bright red ribbons draped over tables, and a majestic Christmas tree stood proudly in the center of the square, its branches laden with handmade ornaments crafted by the villagers. Each ornament told a story, reflecting the shared history and traditions of the community. As Sophia wandered through the gathering, she was enveloped by the warmth of friendship and camaraderie. The villagers greeted her with smiles, their eyes shining with the kind of happiness that can only be found in moments like these. The air was filled with the sound of clinking glasses and the soft hum of traditional carols performed by a small group of villagers who had gathered to sing. The music intertwined with the laughter and chatter, creating a symphony of joy that resonated in Sophia's heart. As the sun dipped lower, casting a golden hue over the square, Sophia found herself drawn to a group of children who had set up a small puppet show on a makeshift stage. Their laughter rang out as they manipulated their handmade puppets, bringing to life stories of ancient Greek myths and local legends. The creativity of the children captured the hearts of the villagers, and for a moment, everyone was a child again, enchanted by the magic of storytelling. Amid the joyful chaos, Sophia spotted Elena near the Christmas tree, directing the placement of the final ornaments. With her white hair adorned with festive garlands, Elena looked every bit the matriarch of the village. Sophia approached her, feeling a surge of affection for the woman who had welcomed her into the community with open arms. Elena beamed at Sophia, her eyes sparkling with kindness. She gestured toward the tree, where a small box rested at its base. It was wrapped in shimmering paper and tied with a delicate ribbon, a mystery waiting to be unveiled. Elena explained, without words, that it was a tradition for each family to contribute a gift to the tree, which would then be exchanged during the evening feast. The anticipation hung thick in the air, and Sophia felt the excitement ripple through the crowd. As dusk settled, the villagers began to gather around the tree, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the lights. A hush fell over the crowd as Eleni stepped forward to offer a few words of welcome, her gestures filled with warmth and pride. Even without dialogue, the emotions conveyed were palpable, radiating through the hearts of everyone present. It was a moment of unity, a shared understanding that transcended language, binding them together in the spirit of the season. One by one, families approached the tree, placing their carefully wrapped gifts beneath its branches. Sophia felt her heart swell with gratitude as she observed the generosity of the villagers, their willingness to share a piece of themselves with one another. Each gift was a symbol of love, a reminder of the connections forged through shared experiences and mutual support. As night descended, the square transformed into a magical haven. The trees sparkled with lights, casting a warm glow on the faces of the villagers gathered around. The scent of hearty stews and baked goods filled the air, teasing Sophia's senses and beckoning her to the long tables set up for the feast. The laughter grew louder, the music swelled, and the festivities commenced. Sophia took a seat at the communal table, surrounded by new friends who had quickly become like family. She found herself immersed in the warmth of their stories, each person sharing snippets of their lives, their hopes, and their dreams. The joy of connection enveloped her like a cozy blanket, soothing her soul in a way she hadn't realized she desperately needed. As the food was served, Sophia savored each bite, delighting in the flavors that reflected the rich heritage of the village. She felt a profound sense of belonging as she passed dishes around the table, everyone contributing to the communal experience. The laughter echoed through the night, mingling with the sounds of clinking glasses and the soft strains of music. When it came time to exchange gifts, the excitement in the air became electric. The villagers gathered around the Christmas tree, each person reaching for their gifts and offering them to one another with eager smiles. Sophia felt a flutter of anticipation in her chest as she picked up the small box she had contributed, feeling the weight of it in her hands. She looked around, watching the villagers unwrap their gifts, delighting in the joy of giving and receiving. As she unwrapped her own gift, a beautiful handmade ornament in the shape of a snowflake emerged. It shimmered in the light, a reminder of the beauty of winter and the connections she had forged during her time in Kalymnos. Sophia's heart swelled with emotion as she realized this ornament would forever hold the memories of this magical Christmas. The warmth of community, the embrace of friendship, and the love that filled the air. The evening wore on, filled with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses raised in celebration. The villagers danced beneath the starlit sky, their joy resonating through the cold night air. Sophia joined in, feeling the pulse of happiness envelop her as she twirled among her friends, the spirit of the season alive in every movement. In that moment, surrounded by the love and laughter of the village, Sophia felt truly at home. The fear of loneliness that had once haunted her seemed a distant memory, washed away by the connections she had made. Christmas had woven its magic around her heart, and she knew that whatever lay ahead, she would face it with the strength and love she had found in this little corner of Greece. Chapter 10. The Warmth of New Beginnings. As the sun rose over Kalymnos the following morning, the village glimmered beneath a fresh blanket of snow, its beauty accentuated by the clear blue sky above. The aftermath of the previous night's festivities lingered in the air, a soft echo of laughter and joy woven into the very fabric of the village. Sophia awoke to the gentle light filtering through her window, casting a warm glow across her room and inviting her to embrace the day ahead. Rising from her bed, she felt an invigorating sense of purpose. The remnants of the celebration still lingered in her heart, but with each breath, she sensed a burgeoning excitement for what lay ahead. Today, she decided, would be about discovery, both of herself and the enchanting village that had begun to feel like home. Dressed warmly, Sophia stepped outside, her boots crunching against the fresh snow that blanketed the ground. The world was transformed into a magical wonderland, the familiar streets now a pristine canvas. Each step brought her deeper into a fairy tale, with snow-laden branches bowing under their icy burdens, sparkling like diamonds in the morning light. The village was unusually quiet, with most of the residents still recovering from the festivities of the previous night. Sophia walked leisurely, breathing in the crisp, invigorating air that filled her lungs. She felt as though she were part of a dream that was slowly unfolding before her eyes. As she strolled through the empty streets, she couldn't help but reflect on how her life had changed in such a short time. The connection she had forged with the villagers, especially with Elena and the children, had ignited a flicker of hope within her, a hope she thought she had lost forever. Each encounter had been a thread woven into a beautiful tapestry of community and belonging. Her heart swelled with gratitude for the love and kindness that had enveloped her during her stay. After wandering through the village, Sophia made her way to the small bakery that had been the heart of the previous night's festivities. The aroma of freshly baked bread filled the air, drawing her in like a moth to a flame. Pushing open the door, she was greeted by the familiar warmth of the oven and the sight of bread rising under the skilled hands of the baker, a man named Andreas. His face lit up with a smile upon seeing her, his enthusiasm evident as he waved her inside. Sophia watched in awe as Andreas worked, his hands deftly shaping dough and expertly kneading it with practiced ease. He gestured for her to join him, and she stepped forward, enchanted by the art of baking. He handed her a small ball of dough and guided her through the motions of shaping it into a loaf. The tactile experience was exhilarating, and as she felt the warmth of the dough in her hands, she couldn't help but smile. Together, they baked the bread, laughter punctuating their efforts as Andreas shared stories about the village, its traditions, and the role of food in bringing people together. His passion was infectious, and Sophia felt a deep sense of connection to the heart of Kalymnos as the aroma of baking bread filled the bakery. It was a reminder of the simple joys that life could offer, and for the first time in a long while, she felt a flicker of contentment. After what seemed like no time at all, the bread was ready, golden brown and steaming, filling the bakery with an irresistible scent. As Andreas sliced the warm loaf, he offered her a piece, and she relished the taste, the flavors dancing on her tongue. The warmth radiating from the fresh bread seemed to seep into her very soul, wrapping her in comfort. Sophia left the bakery with a heart full of warmth, the loaf of bread cradled in her arms like a treasure. She wandered back to the town square, where she saw the remnants of the Christmas tree still standing proudly, adorned with lights that twinkled in the morning light. The village was slowly awakening, children beginning to emerge from their homes, eager to play in the snow. She decided to take her freshly baked bread to the village square, where a few families had gathered, their laughter ringing out as they engaged in snowball fights and built snowmen. Sophia watched, her heart swelling with affection for the vibrant community that had welcomed her with open arms. As she approached, the children noticed her, their faces lighting up with excitement. They rushed toward her, their cheeks flushed with the cold, eager to see what she had brought. Sophia knelt down, presenting the bread like a prize, and the children cheered, their voices ringing out in pure joy. Sophia felt the warmth of their enthusiasm wrap around her, filling her with a sense of belonging. She joined in their play, tossing snowballs and creating snow angels, her laughter mingling with theirs as they frolicked in the soft, powdery snow. It felt as though the weight of the world had lifted off her shoulders, replaced by the lightness of joy and connection. Amidst the laughter and play, Sophia noticed Eleni watching from a distance, her wise eyes sparkling with happiness. Eleni beckoned her over, and Sophia obliged, feeling an overwhelming sense of affection for the woman who had become a guiding light in her life. As she approached, Eleni opened her arms, enveloping Sophia in a warm embrace that spoke volumes of love and acceptance. Eleni led Sophia to a nearby bench, where they could watch the children play. Without needing to speak, they exchanged knowing smiles, a bond formed through shared experiences and unspoken understanding. The sunlight filtered through the trees, casting dappled shadows on the snow, creating a picturesque scene that seemed to echo the beauty of their connection. As the day wore on, more villagers joined in the festivities, their laughter and joy weaving a tapestry of warmth that enveloped the square. The children continued to play, their carefree spirits a testament to the magic of childhood. For Sophia, each moment felt like a new beginning, a chance to shed the burdens of her past and embrace the love and friendship that surrounded her. With the sun beginning to set, casting a warm golden light across the village, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of peace. The chaos of her previous life faded into the background, replaced by the beauty of the present moment. She realized that she had found a family in Kalymnos, a family bound not by blood, but by love, kindness, and the shared experience of life. As twilight descended and the village began to glow with the soft lights of lanterns and holiday decorations, Sophia knew that her heart was finally home. In the embrace of new friendships and the warmth of a community that had welcomed her with open arms, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, a promise that the future held endless possibilities, all waiting to unfold in the enchanting embrace of Kalymnos. Chapter 11. Beyond the Snow-Covered Hills. The next morning dawned bright and clear, the sky a brilliant azure canvas that promised a beautiful winter day. Sophia awoke with a renewed sense of purpose, her heart still brimming with warmth from the previous day's celebrations and connections. The memories of laughter and joy echoed in her mind, filling her with hope and a deep appreciation for the community that had embraced her so fully. After a quick breakfast of fresh bread and honey, Sophia ventured outside, eager to explore more of Kalymnos. The crisp air greeted her, invigorating and fresh, as she stepped out into the snow-covered streets. Each footstep crunched softly underfoot, the sound almost musical in the peaceful stillness of the morning. The village felt alive, each house adorned with festive decorations that twinkled in the sunlight, a reflection of the joy that radiated throughout the community. As she wandered, Sophia's gaze fell upon the bustling market square, which was beginning to awaken. Vendors were setting up their stalls, the aroma of spices, fresh produce, and baked goods wafting through the air. The vibrancy of the market was infectious, drawing in both locals and visitors alike, each person eager to share in the spirit of the season. Sophia found herself gravitating toward a stall adorned with colorful fabrics and handmade crafts. The vendor, an elderly woman with a warm smile and kind eyes, showcased an array of intricate textiles that told stories of the island's rich culture and history. As Sophia admired the craftsmanship, she felt a sense of connection to the stories woven into each piece, a reminder of the heritage that surrounded her. She spent time at the stall, learning about the various patterns and their meanings. The vendor spoke of the traditions passed down through generations, how each stitch held a piece of history. Although there was no verbal exchange, the woman's gestures and expressions spoke volumes, creating a bridge of understanding between them. Sophia felt a surge of inspiration, her fingers brushing over the soft fabrics as she imagined the stories they could tell. After thanking the vendor, she continued her exploration, drawn further into the heart of the village. The sounds of laughter and chatter filled the air as families gathered for a morning of shopping and socializing. Children ran past her, their cheeks rosy from the cold, their laughter echoing in the winter air like music. She smiled, feeling a sense of belonging that she had longed for in her life. As she turned a corner, she stumbled upon a small chapel nestled between two larger buildings, its entrance framed by lush greenery and blooming flowers, even in the heart of winter. Intrigued, she stepped inside, the wooden door creaking softly as it opened. The interior was modest yet beautiful, filled with flickering candles that cast a warm glow over the intricate iconography adorning the walls. Sophia found a quiet corner and sat on a pew, allowing herself to soak in the tranquility of the space. The flickering flames danced in the stillness, and she closed her eyes, letting the peaceful atmosphere wash over her. It was in this moment of solitude that she reflected on her journey thus far, the heartache, the loneliness, and the eventual rediscovery of joy and hope. The village had become a sanctuary for her, a place where she could heal and grow. As the sunlight streamed through the stained glass windows, casting colorful patterns across the wooden floor, Sophia felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She thought of Elena, Andreas, and all the friends she had made. Their kindness and acceptance had rekindled a flame within her, illuminating her path forward. She knew she had a chance to create a life filled with love, purpose, and connection. After spending time in quiet reflection, Sophia emerged from the chapel, the bright sunlight momentarily blinding her as she stepped back into the vibrant world outside. The market was now bustling with energy, and she felt a renewed sense of excitement as she rejoined the festivities. With each passing moment, she felt more at home in Kalimnos, as if the island were wrapping its arms around her, inviting her to stay. Her wandering led her to a small group of villagers gathered around a makeshift stage, where musicians had begun to play lively tunes that filled the air with infectious energy. The sound of laughter and clapping soon followed, and Sophia found herself swept up in the spirit of celebration once more. The villagers danced and sang, their movements free and joyous, as though nothing else in the world mattered. Feeling the rhythm of the music pulse through her, Sophia joined in, allowing herself to be carried away by the moment. She twirled and laughed, her heart light as she danced with newfound friends, each step reaffirming her place in this beautiful tapestry of life. In that moment, the barriers she had built around her heart began to dissolve, replaced by a growing sense of hope. As the afternoon turned to evening, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the village. Lanterns were lit, illuminating the streets with a soft, warm glow that added to the enchanting atmosphere. The sound of laughter and music echoed in the air, inviting everyone to gather and celebrate the magic of the season together. Sophia felt a pull toward the central square, where a bonfire had been lit, crackling and flickering as villagers gathered around to share stories, laughter, and warmth. She settled in among the crowd, feeling the heat of the fire on her skin as she watched the flames dance and sway. The sight brought a sense of comfort, reminding her of the warmth of companionship and the beauty of connection. As she sat there, surrounded by laughter and love, Sophia realized that she had truly found her place in Kalymnos. She felt a deep sense of belonging, as if the village had welcomed her home with open arms. In the embrace of the community, she found a sense of purpose that had eluded her for far too long. With each passing moment, Sophia's heart filled with hope, the kind of hope that whispered of new beginnings and endless possibilities. She had come to Kalymnos seeking solace and healing, and what she found was so much more. She discovered a vibrant tapestry of life woven with friendship, love, and the promise of a future that shone as brightly as the stars above. As the night deepened and the celebrations continued, Sophia knew that she had finally opened her heart to the love and joy that surrounded her. She felt ready to embrace whatever the future held, ready to write the next chapter of her life in this beautiful place where snowflakes danced in the air and love blossomed amidst the winter chill. Chapter 12. Unfolding Possibilities. The morning sun rose slowly over Kalymnos, casting a gentle light that warmed the village and washed the snow-capped mountains in hues of gold and pink. Sophia awoke in her cozy room, the remnants of last night's celebrations still lingering in her heart. She stretched her arms and smiled, feeling a sense of peace and belonging that she had never before experienced. The warmth of hope enveloped her, and she was eager to embrace the day ahead. After a hearty breakfast of yogurt and fresh fruit, Sophia dressed warmly in her favorite knitted sweater and woolen scarf, the soft fabrics providing a comforting embrace against the cool winter air. As she stepped outside, the world greeted her with a sparkling blanket of snow, the sunlight glinting off the white surface like a million tiny diamonds. The village bustled with energy, the laughter of children mingling with the cheerful chatter of adults, creating a vibrant tapestry of life that made her heart swell with joy. Eager to make the most of the beautiful day, Sophia decided to explore the nearby hills, a place that had always intrigued her since her arrival. She felt an irresistible pull toward the mountains, a longing to see the stunning views that she had heard so much about. The thought of discovering new landscapes and hidden treasures excited her, and she set off with a light heart and adventurous spirit. The path leading to the hills was well-trodden, and as she walked, she inhaled the crisp air, her senses alive with the sense of pine and earth. Each step felt invigorating, as if the very essence of nature was filling her with energy and purpose. The sound of her footsteps crunching in the snow echoed softly, a reminder of the serene beauty that surrounded her. As she ascended, the village became a distant memory, replaced by the breathtaking scenery that unfolded before her. The mountains loomed majestically, their peaks piercing the sky, while below, the valleys spread out like a patchwork quilt, dotted with olive trees and quaint stone houses. She paused to take it all in, the sheer beauty of the landscape captivating her heart and soul. Reaching a clearing at the top of the hill, Sophia felt a wave of accomplishment wash over her. The view was nothing short of spectacular, a panoramic vista that made her feel both small and incredibly alive. The azure sea stretched out in the distance, glistening under the midday sun, while the mountains formed a rugged backdrop that exuded strength and stability. She closed her eyes and breathed deeply, allowing the tranquility of the moment to envelop her. Here, she felt connected to something greater, a force that whispered of possibility and hope. The worries and fears that had once weighed heavily on her seemed to fade away, replaced by a profound sense of freedom. In this beautiful place, she realized that she was finally ready to embrace the life that lay ahead. As she stood there, the wind gently rustling her hair, thoughts of her time in Kalymnos flooded her mind. She remembered the kindness of Elena and Andreas, the warmth of the community, and the joy that had filled her heart during the recent celebrations. Each memory was a thread woven into the fabric of her new life, creating a tapestry of love and belonging that she had longed for. After soaking in the beauty of the moment, Sophia decided to explore further. She ventured along the ridge, marveling at the snow-laden branches of trees, their limbs heavy with winter's touch. The beauty of the landscape was enhanced by the soft sounds of nature, birds chirping in the distance and the gentle whisper of the wind through the pines. Each new sight sparked her curiosity, urging her to venture deeper into the wilderness. As she meandered along the trail, Sophia's thoughts drifted to the possibilities that lay ahead. She imagined herself becoming a part of this vibrant community, contributing to the life of the village in ways that were meaningful to her. Perhaps she could help Eleni with her bakery, sharing her own recipes and creating new traditions together. Or maybe she could volunteer with the local children, teaching them about art and storytelling, sharing the magic of imagination and creativity. These thoughts filled her with excitement, and she realized that she had the power to shape her own destiny. The fear and uncertainty that had once clouded her mind began to lift, replaced by a sense of purpose that surged within her. Sophia understood that she had found more than just a place to call home. She had discovered a new chapter of her life, one that was filled with promise and hope. The path ahead was not without its challenges, but for the first time in a long while, Sophia felt ready to face them. She had learned that life was not just about enduring hardships. It was about embracing the moments of joy, connection, and love that made the journey worthwhile. The village had taught her the value of community and the strength that comes from opening one's heart. As she continued her exploration, Sophia stumbled upon a small clearing where a frozen pond lay nestled between the trees. The surface was smooth and glistening, reflecting the beauty of the surrounding landscape. Intrigued, she approached the edge, the sunlight sparkling off the ice like 1,000 tiny stars. Without hesitation, Sophia stepped onto the frozen surface, her heart racing with the thrill of the moment. The ice creaked gently beneath her feet, but she felt a rush of exhilaration as she glided across the pond, her laughter echoing in the stillness. In that moment, she felt free from her past, free from her doubts, and free to embrace the life she had chosen. After spending time skating and twirling across the pond, Sophia finally settled on the bank, the cool air invigorating her senses. She watched the clouds float lazily across the sky, her heart full of gratitude for the journey that had brought her here. She felt a profound connection to the land and its people, a realization that she was no longer just an outsider. She was part of something beautiful and enduring. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting a golden light across the landscape, Sophia knew it was time to return to the village. She turned back, her heart light and her spirit soaring, ready to share her newfound hope and dreams with those who had become her family. The path back was familiar now, each step filled with a sense of purpose and anticipation. Arriving in the village, she was greeted by the warmth of lights twinkling in the windows and the sound of laughter spilling out into the streets. It was a reminder that she had found her place in this vibrant community, a place where love, connection, and possibility thrived. That evening, as the stars twinkled above, Sophia gathered with the villagers to share stories and celebrate the joys of life. She felt a profound sense of belonging, a connection that filled her heart with warmth and hope. In this moment, she knew that the snow-covered hills of Kalymnos had transformed her life in ways she had never imagined. And with each passing day, she would continue to embrace the unfolding possibilities that awaited her, ready to write the next chapter of her story in a place filled with love. Chapter 13. An invitation to dream. The days grew shorter as winter tightened its grip on Kalymnos, the village nestled among the snow-covered hills now a canvas of white. Each morning, the sun peeked over the horizon, casting a soft glow on the frozen landscape. The air was crisp and invigorating, filled with the scent of pine and the promise of the holiday season. Sophia felt a renewed sense of purpose as she immersed herself in the rhythm of village life, her heart brimming with joy and anticipation. In the weeks following her adventure on the frozen pond, Sophia had become an integral part of the community. Her laughter echoed through the village, mingling with the sounds of children playing in the snow, while her warm presence brought comfort to those around her. She had forged friendships with Elena and Andreas, sharing countless moments filled with laughter, warmth, and stories of their pasts. Each day was a new opportunity to deepen her connections with the people who had welcomed her so warmly. As Christmas approached, the village transformed into a winter wonderland. Colorful lights adorned the trees, and the scent of cinnamon and baked goods wafted through the streets. The annual holiday festival was just around the corner, and everyone was buzzing with excitement as they prepared for the celebrations. Sophia had eagerly joined in the preparations, helping Eleni with her bakery and crafting decorations with the children. Every moment spent creating felt like a gift, a reminder of the beauty of togetherness. On the eve of the festival, the village square was alive with activity. Stalls lined the streets, each one brimming with handmade crafts, delicious treats, and warm drinks. The air was filled with the sounds of laughter and music, a symphony of joy that resonated through Sophia's heart. She marveled at the vibrancy of the community, each person contributing their unique spirit to the festivities. Sophia stood alongside Eleni at the bakery stall, their table adorned with an array of delectable pastries. The warmth of the oven enveloped them, and the sweet aroma of freshly baked goods wafted through the air, drawing villagers and like moths to a flame. As she served the pastries to the delighted customers, Sophia felt a sense of belonging that she had longed for her entire life. She was not just a visitor anymore. She was part of this tapestry of life woven together by love and community. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the square, the festival officially began. A massive Christmas tree stood proudly at the center, adorned with twinkling lights and ornaments handmade by the villagers. Children danced around it, their faces alight with joy as they sang songs of the season, the melodies filling the air with an infectious cheer. Sophia watched with a smile, her heart swelling at the sight of the joyous faces around her. She felt a sense of gratitude wash over her, realizing how far she had come since arriving in Kalymnos. This place, with its snow-covered hills and vibrant community, had breathed new life into her soul, healing the wounds of her past. As the night progressed, the villagers gathered around the tree for the lighting ceremony. The air buzzed with excitement, and Sophia could feel the energy of the crowd building as everyone counted down the seconds. When the final number was reached, cheers erupted as the lights illuminated the tree, casting a warm glow over the entire square. It was a moment of pure magic, a reminder of the light that could be found even in the darkest of winters. The festivities continued into the night, with music filling the air as couples twirled and danced under the stars. Sophia found herself swept up in the joy, her heart light and carefree. As she danced, she caught glimpses of Andreas and Eleni, their smiles radiating happiness as they joined in the merriment. It was a night filled with laughter, friendship, and the magic of the season. As the evening drew to a close, The villagers gathered to share stories and reflect on the year that had passed. Sophia sat among them, her heart brimming with gratitude. She listened intently as others spoke of their hopes and dreams, the challenges they had faced, and the joys that had filled their lives. Each story was a thread woven into the tapestry of their community, a reminder of the strength that came from unity and love. When it was her turn to share, Sophia took a deep breath, her heart racing. She felt an overwhelming urge to express her gratitude for the life she had found in Kalymnos, for the friendships that had blossomed and the love that had enveloped her. But as she began to speak, her voice caught in her throat. She realized that words could never truly capture the depth of her feelings, the transformation she had undergone since arriving in this magical place. Instead, she shared a simple truth: how the village had become her home and how each person had touched her life in ways she could never have imagined. A warmth enveloped her, a deep connection that transcended words. The villagers listened, their eyes shining with understanding, and in that moment, Sophia knew that she was exactly where she was meant to be. As the night wore on, the stars twinkled overhead, a blanket of light illuminating the village and casting a serene glow on the snow-covered landscape. Sophia felt a sense of peace settle over her, realization that she had found not just a place to belong, but a family that accepted her for who she was. The love and kindness that surrounded her filled her heart to the brim, and she silently vowed to carry that light with her into the new year. Later that night, as she walked home beneath the starry sky, Sophia reflected on the incredible journey that had brought her to this moment. She thought of the challenges she had faced, the fears she had conquered, and the dreams that were beginning to take shape. The snowy hills of Kalymnos had not only captured her heart, but had also ignited a flame of hope within her. As she approached her cozy cottage, a gentle snowfall began, each flake drifting down like a whisper of winter magic. She stepped inside, the warmth of the fire greeting her like a long-lost friend. Sophia wrapped herself in a soft blanket, her heart full of gratitude for the love that surrounded her. With a cup of steaming tea in hand, she settled into her favorite chair by the fire, the flickering flames dancing shadows across the walls. She closed her eyes and allowed herself to drift into a peaceful reverie, her mind weaving dreams of the future, a future filled with love, laughter, and endless possibilities. In that quiet moment, Sophia knew that the journey of her heart had only just begun. She was ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, to nurture the connections she had formed, and to share her love with the community that had become her home. The snow fell gently outside, each flake a reminder of the magic of new beginnings, and with it came the promise of a winter filled with love. Chapter 14. Shadows Melt Away. The morning light filtered through the frost-covered windows of Sophia's cottage, casting delicate patterns on the wooden floor. The world outside was transformed into a dazzling wonderland, every tree and rooftop adorned with a thick blanket of snow. The village of Kalymnos lay peaceful and serene, a stark contrast to the bustling festivities of the previous night. Sophia awoke with a sense of contentment, her heart still aglow from the warmth of the community that had embraced her. As she sipped her morning tea, she reflected on the extraordinary moments that had shaped her time in Kalymnos. The laughter of children, the camaraderie shared with Elena and Andreas, and the magic of the winter festival all flooded her thoughts. Each memory was like a cherished ornament hanging on the tree of her heart, glittering with joy and hope. She smiled, grateful for the connections she had made and the sense of belonging that now filled her life. After breakfast, Sophia decided to venture outside, eager to embrace the beauty of the snow-covered landscape. She donned her warm coat, wrapped a colorful scarf around her neck, and stepped out into the brisk morning air. The crunch of snow beneath her boots echoed in the stillness, a delightful reminder of the winter magic that surrounded her. As she walked through the village, she was greeted by the sight of children building snowmen, their laughter ringing out like music, infusing the air with joy. Sophia wandered toward the edge of the village, where the snow-clad hills rolled gently into the distance. The sight took her breath away, and she paused to admire the view. The mountains, draped in white, stood majestically against the clear blue sky, a canvas of nature's artistry. She felt a sense of tranquility wash over her, a moment of stillness that allowed her to appreciate the beauty of the world around her. As she stood there, lost in thought, memories of her life before Kalymnos began to surface. The loneliness, the heartbreak, and the yearning for connection seemed like distant echoes now. It was as if the village had drawn a line between her past and her present, inviting her to step into a new chapter filled with love and hope. Sophia closed her eyes and breathed in the crisp air, allowing the serenity of the moment to envelop her. Determined to make the most of her time in Kalymnos, Sophia decided to take a walk through the woods. The path was familiar, winding through the trees that stood tall and proud, their branches heavy with snow. She felt an exhilarating sense of freedom as she stepped deeper into the forest, the sounds of the village fading into a gentle hush. Here, surrounded by nature, she felt alive, her heart beating in harmony with the world. As she ventured further, Sophia found a small clearing, a hidden gem within the woods. Sunlight filtered through the branches above, casting a soft glow on the pristine snow. She paused, taking in the beauty of the moment, and felt an overwhelming urge to create a memory. Spreading her arms wide, she twirled in the snow, laughter bubbling up from her core. In that simple act, she released the weight of her past and embraced the joy of the present. After her impromptu dance, Sophia settled into the soft snow, making a snow angel. As she lay there, gazing up at the sky, she allowed her thoughts to drift. She considered her journey, the challenges she had faced, and the strength she had discovered within herself. The isolation that once consumed her had faded, replaced by a newfound courage and resilience. In Kalymnos, she had learned to open her heart, to let love in, and to cherish the connections that filled her life with meaning. Lost in her reflections, Sophia felt a sudden rush of gratitude for the people who had become her family in this little village. Elena's kindness and warmth, Andreas's infectious laughter, and the support of the entire community had woven a tapestry of love around her. She envisioned the coming days, filled with more adventures and shared moments, and her heart swelled with anticipation. As the sun began its descent, casting a golden hue across the landscape, Sophia decided it was time to return to the village. She retraced her steps, her heart light and joyful, the echoes of her laughter lingering in the air. The village was now bustling with life, the aroma of roasted chestnuts wafting through the streets, drawing her toward the heart of the festivities. Upon her arrival, Sophia was greeted by the familiar sights and sounds of the village coming alive. Families gathered, laughter mingling with the scent of baked goods. The warmth of the community enveloped her like a comforting embrace, and she felt a sense of belonging that had once seemed so distant. Elena spotted her from across the square and waved enthusiastically, her apron dusted with flour from a day of baking. Sophia hurried over, eager to join her friend in the joyful preparations. Together, they worked side by side, mixing dough and crafting delightful treats, their laughter filling the air as they shared stories and dreams for the future. As the evening unfolded, the village square transformed into a vibrant hub of activity. Stalls filled with handmade crafts, warm drinks, and delicious food beckoned passers-by. The soft glow of lanterns illuminated the paths, creating a magical atmosphere that felt almost otherworldly. Sophia reveled in the joy of the moment, helping Eleni serve pastries to delighted children, each smile a reminder of the happiness that surrounded her. The sense of community was palpable, an unbreakable bond that united everyone in celebration. As night fell, the village gathered once again around the towering Christmas tree, its lights twinkling like stars in the dark sky. Sophia joined her friends, standing among the villagers as they sang traditional songs, their voices rising together in harmony. The music echoed through the square, a testament to the spirit of togetherness that enveloped them. In that moment, Sophia felt a surge of gratitude. She was no longer just a visitor. She was a cherished member of this vibrant community. The love that surrounded her filled her heart to the brim, and she silently vowed to continue nurturing the connections she had formed, to share her journey with those who had become her family. As the celebration carried on into the night, Sophia's heart swelled with the realization that she had found not just a place to belong but a true home. The village of Kalymnos, with its snow-covered hills and warm-hearted people, had become a sanctuary for her soul, a place where she could flourish and embrace the beauty of life. With every twinkle of the lights, every note of the songs, and every shared smile, Sophia knew that this was just the beginning of her story, a story filled with love, friendship, and the promise of endless possibilities. The winter nights ahead held the promise of more adventures, and as she danced under the stars, she felt a sense of hope radiate from within her, ready to embrace whatever the future would bring. Chapter 15. A Promise in the Snow. The dawn of a new day broke gently over Kalymnos, the sun spilling its golden light across the snow-draped landscape. Sophia awoke with a sense of anticipation fluttering in her chest. The celebrations of the previous night had filled her with warmth and joy, but today felt different, like the dawn of something significant. As she rose from her slumber, she sensed that the time had come to embrace her journey fully, to step into the future that awaited her. After a simple breakfast, Sophia dressed warmly and prepared to explore the village. The fresh layer of snow sparkled under the bright sunlight, and with each step, the soft crunch beneath her boots felt invigorating. The village, alive with the remnants of the holiday spirit, felt like a canvas waiting for her brushstrokes. Each moment held the potential for new memories, new experiences, and perhaps new connections that would further enrich her life. She wandered through the narrow streets, the familiar sights greeting her like old friends. Children built snow forts, their laughter ringing in the air, while shopkeepers exchanged warm greetings, their cheerful voices filling the crisp morning. Sophia found herself smiling at everyone she passed, the sense of community wrapping around her like a warm blanket. She had never felt so alive, so deeply connected to the world around her. As she walked, she found herself drawn toward the outskirts of the village, where the landscape opened up to reveal stunning views of the surrounding mountains. The hills, still dressed in their winter garb, stood sentinel over the village, an eternal presence that made Sophia feel both small and significant. Standing there, she felt a rush of gratitude for the life she was building, one where love and friendship blossomed amid the tranquil beauty of nature. In the distance, she spotted Elena and Andreas, their figures animated as they chatted near a small gathering of villagers. Sophia's heart leaped at the sight of her friends, and she quickened her pace, eager to join them. As she approached, she overheard snippets of conversation filled with laughter and excitement. They were planning a community hike up the nearby mountain to take in the breathtaking views and celebrate the joy of togetherness. Sophia's heart swelled at the thought of participating in this adventure. She had grown to cherish these moments, where laughter and companionship intertwined seamlessly. When she reached them, she joined in their excitement, feeling an exhilarating sense of belonging wash over her. The prospect of hiking together, surrounded by nature's beauty, stirred something deep within her, a desire to embrace every moment and live fully. The group began to gather, and soon they were making their way toward the mountain. The path wound through the snow-covered trees, the silence of the forest broken only by the crunch of their footsteps and the distant call of birds. As they climbed, Sophia felt invigorated by the fresh air and the shared energy of her companions. Each step took them higher, closer to the summit, and the anticipation of reaching the top made her heart race. After a while, they reached a clearing, and the view was nothing short of breathtaking. The entire village of Kalymnos lay nestled in the valley below, a picturesque scene straight out of a fairy tale. The mountains loomed majestically in the background, their peaks kissed by the winter sun. Sophia stood in awe, her heart swelling with gratitude for this beautiful life she had found. As they took in the view, the group settled into the snow, sharing stories and laughter, the bonds of friendship deepening with each shared moment. Sophia felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the people around her, but to the very essence of life itself. In this place, she had discovered a love for herself and for those who had opened their hearts to her. It was a gift beyond measure. As the sun began its descent, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Sophia's thoughts turned inward. She reflected on her journey thus far, the pain of her past, the loneliness that had once consumed her, and the beauty she had found in Kalymnos. She realized that every step had led her here, to this moment of joy and belonging. Andreas, noticing Sophia's contemplative expression, turned to her with a warm smile, gesturing to the horizon where the sun was painting the sky with hues of orange and pink. The moment felt sacred, a reminder of the fleeting nature of time and the importance of cherishing each day. As night began to fall, the group made their way back down the mountain, the stars slowly emerging in the clear sky. The cold air bit at their cheeks, but the warmth of companionship enveloped them, keeping the chill at bay. The walk back was filled with laughter and playful banter, each person sharing their favorite holiday memories and dreams for the future. When they returned to the village, the festive spirit was alive and thriving. The streets glowed with twinkling lights, and the scent of delicious food wafted through the air. The sense of community was palpable, and Sophia felt a rush of love for the people who had welcomed her with open arms. As they entered the village square, a sense of excitement filled the atmosphere. The villagers were preparing for an evening celebration, complete with music, dancing, and a feast to mark the new beginnings that lay ahead. Sophia's heart danced with joy, knowing that she was not just a spectator but an integral part of this beautiful tapestry of life. As the festivities commenced, Sophia immersed herself in the joy of the moment. She danced under the stars, her heart light, her spirit soaring. The music resonated within her, a harmonious blend of hope and love that echoed through the night. She felt alive in a way she never had before, surrounded by friends who had become her family, in a village that had embraced her as one of its own. In that magical night, Sophia realized that life was a series of moments, each one a thread woven into the fabric of her existence. She understood that the love she had found in Kalymnos was a gift, a second chance to rewrite her story, to embrace the beauty of connection, and to cherish every day as a new beginning. As the clock struck midnight, the villagers gathered for a toast, glasses raised high in celebration. Sophia joined them, her heart swelling with gratitude and joy. She had discovered a home not just in Kalymnos, but within herself. With each cheer and clink of glasses, she felt the weight of her past lift, replaced by the promise of a brighter future. And as the stars twinkled overhead, illuminating the night sky, Sophia knew that this was just the beginning. The journey ahead was filled with endless possibilities, and she was ready to embrace every moment with open arms, her heart forever entwined with the spirit of love and the beauty of new beginnings. Chapter 16. Embracing the Sunrise. As dawn broke over Kalymnos, a new light cast a gentle glow across the village. The remnants of the night's celebration lingered in the air, infused with laughter, joy, and the unmistakable warmth of community. Sophia awoke with a heart full of hope, her mind alive with dreams for the future. The memories of dancing under the stars and sharing heartfelt toasts with her newfound friends felt like a beautiful tapestry, woven with threads of love and connection. The snow from the previous days still blanketed the village, creating a picturesque winter wonderland. As she stretched and took a moment to savor the tranquility of her surroundings, Sophia reflected on how much had changed since she first arrived in this charming village. The isolation and sorrow she had once carried felt like distant memories, replaced by the vibrant life she now embraced. Dressed in layers to ward off the lingering chill of the winter air, Sophia stepped outside her cozy cottage. The world around her sparkled, the morning sun glinting off the snow-covered rooftops and trees, creating a magical atmosphere that made her feel as if she had stepped into a dream. The village was slowly coming to life. Smoke curled from chimneys, and the sounds of children laughing echoed in the distance, mingling with the cheerful notes of a nearby musician tuning his instrument. Sophia took a deep breath, allowing the crisp air to invigorate her. Today was a day for new beginnings, and she was determined to make the most of it. The promise of fresh opportunities lay ahead, and she felt compelled to explore every facet of this enchanting place she now called home. With each step through the snow, she felt the weight of her past continue to dissipate, making room for the bright future that awaited her. Her heart led her toward the village square, where she had spent many delightful evenings with her friends. As she arrived, she was greeted by the sight of familiar faces busy preparing for the day's festivities, a weekly market that celebrated local artisans and their crafts. The vibrant colors of handmade goods, the rich scents of freshly baked bread, and the melodic laughter of villagers filled the air with life and warmth. Sophia meandered through the market stalls, her senses alive with the beauty of it all. She admired hand-knit scarves, intricate pottery, and delicate jewelry, each piece telling a story of its own. The artisans poured their love into their creations, and she felt a deep connection to the spirit of the village through their artistry. As she wandered, she was drawn to a stall adorned with beautifully crafted wooden toys. The artisan, an elderly man with kind eyes, noticed her admiration and smiled warmly. Sophia felt compelled to strike up a conversation, a newfound openness bubbling within her. She learned about the man's journey, his love for woodworking, and how each toy was made with care for children in the village. She listened intently, soaking in the stories that flowed like a river of life, enriching her understanding of the community around her. Encouraged by the warmth of the conversation, she moved to the next stall, where a woman was selling handcrafted candles. The flickering light and the soothing scents of lavender and vanilla enveloped Sophia, inviting her to linger. The woman, noticing Sophia's delight, shared tales of how each candle was infused with local herbs and oils, believed to carry healing properties. Sophia couldn't resist purchasing a few, imagining how they would add warmth and beauty to her cottage. With her arms laden with treasures, Sophia continued to explore the market, her heart swelling with joy. She felt a profound sense of belonging, realizing that these moments were not just about shopping but about the connections being forged. The market was a microcosm of life in Kalymnos, a testament to resilience, creativity, and love that thrived in the heart of the village. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Sophia spotted Elena and Andreas waving at her from across the square. Their smiles were infectious, and she felt an overwhelming rush of gratitude for their friendship. Together, they made their way through the bustling market, sharing stories and laughter as they stopped at various stalls. Each shared moment felt like a thread weaving their lives together, strengthening the bonds that would carry them forward. With the market winding down, Eleni suggested they take a stroll to the nearby beach, where the snow met the sea in a breathtaking display of nature's beauty. The prospect filled Sophia with excitement. As they walked, the The salty breeze danced around them, and the sound of waves crashing against the shore provided a soothing backdrop to their conversation. Once they arrived at the beach, they stood in awe of the landscape before them. The sun cast a golden hue over the water, transforming the scene into a painting that seemed almost surreal. They walked along the shoreline, their feet sinking into the snow-dusted sand, savoring the tranquility of the moment. Sophia glanced at her friends, her heart overflowing with appreciation. In this idyllic setting, she felt a deep sense of peace, a realization that her journey was no longer just about healing from the past, but embracing the beauty of the present. As they chatted about their dreams and aspirations, she felt a spark of inspiration ignite within her. Suddenly, a thought struck her. With the skills she had honed in her previous life and the creativity that flowed through her, she could contribute to the village in a meaningful way. What if she organized workshops where people could learn different crafts, woodworking, candle making, pottery? It could become a space for connection, creativity, and sharing stories. The idea filled her with excitement, and she shared it with Elena and Andreas, who immediately rallied behind her vision. Together, they brainstormed ideas, envisioning a vibrant space where the community could come together to learn, create, and grow. The prospect of building something beautiful and lasting fueled Sophia's spirit, her heart swelling with purpose. She knew that this was not just about her journey anymore. It was about creating a ripple effect of love and connection that would enrich the lives of everyone around her. As the sun began its descent, casting a warm glow over the landscape, they returned to the village, energized and inspired. The evening air was filled with the sounds of laughter and music as villagers gathered to share stories and celebrate the beauty of community. Sophia felt a renewed sense of belonging, the warmth of friendship wrapping around her like a familiar blanket. The journey of healing had transformed into one of growth, love, and connection. She knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with promise and the potential to create a legacy of love. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Sophia stood in the village square, surrounded by friends and laughter. She took a deep breath, feeling a wave of gratitude wash over her. Life had a beautiful way of unfolding, and in this moment, she understood that she was exactly where she was meant to be. With a heart full of dreams, Sophia embraced the promise of tomorrow, ready to take each step forward with love, courage, and an open spirit. The snow had covered the past, but it had also created a blank canvas upon which she could paint her future, one filled with hope, joy, and an unwavering belief in the magic of new beginnings.